First, the headlines: the fifth round of the broad-based dialogue process involving the parties at issue in the Mali crisis opened earlier today, Monday, here in Algiers. The third edition of Fikra Conference held here in Algiers has been an outstanding platform for sharing profitable experiences and innovative ideas. And there have been strong Arab and international condemnations over the killing of 21 Egyptians who were slaughtered by members of the ISIS terror group in troubled Libya. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dzair News and welcome to this English news edition. First, in our top stories, the fifth round of the broad-based dialogue process involving the various parties at issue in the Mali crisis opened earlier today, Monday, here in Algiers. Before the opening of the meeting, Foreign Affairs Minister Ramtan Lamamra said there is no future in confrontation, but rather in reconciliation and joint efforts to address the development challenges in this difficult region of northern Mali, and also to fight against terrorism, organized crime, and cross-border smuggling. In this regard, Mr. Lamamra underlined that Algeria will spare no effort to export peace and stability and to share with their brothers and neighbors its own experience, and also to show the way to reconciliation, as well as the successful policy that President Abdelaziz Bouteflika has adopted here in our country. In other news, the Iranian ambassador to Algiers, Reza Amiri, hailed Sunday the unchallenging position of Algeria regarding the just causes, including the Sahrawi cause, and its efforts for peaceful solutions to several crises, praising as well the telling Algerian experience in fighting the plague of terrorism during a meeting with the chairman of the Algerian-Iranian Friendship Parliamentary Group, Filali Guini. And let's focus on the Bringing National Education file. The spokesman of the Technical and High School Teachers National Council, Masoud Boudiba, said that the first day of the union's national strike knew a widespread response from high school teachers, particularly in the country's southern provinces. Dzair News has gone to some high schools and came back with this.
Many provinces in the country had a positive response towards the education union's declared national strike. In the capital, Algiers, their news cameras spotted a stall in some of the high schools that closed their doors this morning, leaving pupils outside.
More than 90% answered the strike call. Most, if not all, teachers are on strike inside Hamdin's high school. The reason behind this strike are the demands of the Knapist movement since 2010 or more. The ministry is stalling. We agreed in 2012. We don't want this strike. We're obliged to.
On their side, pupils have split between pro and against strike, particularly senior classes who took the opportunity to claim once more the setup of the threshold. So we heard yesterday there will be a strike today. Upon coming, the principal told us all teachers are on strike. We went back out.
We are pro-strike. It gives us more time to study, considering the exams are for next week.
Impending the Ministry of Education's reaction to the Knapist Union's demands during the two-part scheduled meeting next Wednesday, the national education sector's stability would have to halt for further notice.
In other local topical news, the third edition of Fikra Conference held here in Algiers has been an outstanding platform for sharing profitable experiences and innovative ideas. The conference is dedicated to exchanging futuristic ideas among political decision makers, artists, businessmen, journalists, students, and among other very important international and national figures. Mustafa Azouk has more details.
There is no doubt that the world's success has a deep meaning to be chosen by Fikra Conference as a title for its third edition, where it gathered 1,500 participants along with 50 motivational speakers. This conference was dedicated to sharing futuristic ideas between political decision makers, artists, businessmen, journalists, students, and among other very important national and international figures. It was an opportunity of all those to speak about their successful stories and sharing their inspiring journeys.
I think it's very interesting that they brought different people from all different walks of life, and I've learned a lot so far, and it's been great meeting, just even right now, hearing the musicians from the South, and no, it's been very, very interesting.
Fikra Conference was an open opportunity to speak about the current oil crisis and its negative impact on national economy. Experts added that Algeria has a great potential to bounce back to its richness in natural resources.
Well, I know that you're the potential house for growth, for opportunities from the 3-4 neighbors. You have a very young population. 70% of your population is below 35 years old. It's unbelievable. Everybody in Europe dies, but you have a generation that have. So I think if I have to put in my money, I would put it on Algeria. Absolutely. This country has so much potential, but it's up. At the same time, it's up to the Algerians to see that they are blessed. You have so much water here, and water is security. Yeah, water is what we need every day, and you got plenty of it. Wow. I wish we had so much water.
The organizers consider the third edition of Fikra Conference to be successful despite witnessing absence of heavy political and economic figures. However, their absence did not affect the conference, which is judged very much successful. The fourth edition of Fikra Conference will be held next year in Algeria.
In the same context, Mr. Paul Trustful, editor-in-chief of Forbes Custom, who attended Algiers Fikra conference, expressed his contentment at such a laudable initiative, saying he was impressed by Algeria's rich diversity. Let's have a listen.
Well, I know that you're the potential house for growth, for opportunities from the 3-4 neighbors. You have a very young population. 70% of your population is below 35 years old. It's unbelievable. Everybody in Europe dies, but you have a generation that have. So I think if I have to put in my money, I would put it on Algeria. Absolutely. This country has so much potential, but it's up. At the same time, it's up to the Algerians to see that they are blessed. You have so much water here, and water is security. Yeah, water is what we need every day, and you got plenty of it. Wow. I wish we had so much water.
In a separate file, the Youth Minister Abdelkader Khomri stressed the need for increased coordination between his ministry and Heads of Enterprises Forum led by Mr. Ali Haddad in order to accompany hopeful young people in entrepreneurial projects to move forward with Algerian economy as an alternative to hydrocarbons, in which agriculture and industry sectors will be the engine of economic growth. Heads of Enterprises Forum in return highlighted the important role played by the youth in the advancement of the national economy. The statement comes on the sidelines of consultations round by the forum with ministerial departments, with the appointment being this time with the Ministry of Youth. With regard to the current fuel scarcity registered in some parts of Algeria, Naftal's general manager, Said Akrash, has asserted that the fuel crisis that gripped lately several provinces of the country is due to the recent weather turbulences. He also reassured drivers that all petrol stations will be supplied shortly to fulfill their pressing needs. Hints Mineras and the details.
After a lasting crisis that reached several provinces across the country, Naftal Company has finally stepped out of the shadows, blaming the recent fuel scarcity on weather turbulence and the recent cold wave witnessed in most of the country's provinces, resulting in a deadlock which prevented the fuel supplying trucks from getting to gas stations. And instead of finding an actual solution to this issue, Naftal's general manager Said Akrash called the citizens to be rational when it comes to supplying their vehicles with fuel in order to lessen the station's overcrowding. Said crash also reassured drivers that stations will soon get supplied with gas, adding that his company is currently working on adding 20 other gas stations along the east-west highway. Reassurances that came after this gas crisis caused traffic disruption, as well as drivers spending their nights outside earn a few drops of fuel, let alone the altercations between customers and station workers. Will this crisis end with the weather improvement, or will it last till further notice?
On the world news scene, Egypt has launched airstrikes against several ISIS targets in Libya at dawn on Monday, just a few hours after the release of a video by ISIS extremists showing the hideous slaughter of 21 Egyptian captives of Christian Coptic faith who were recently kidnapped in Libya. Karim Fazakri and the details.
Egypt has bombed several Islamic State targets in Libya, reportedly killing up to 50 terrorists. It comes after the group released a video appearing to show the beheading of 21 Egyptians there. The dawn airstrikes, in which Libya's Air Force also participated, are said to have hit ISIL training camps and weapons storage areas. Hours earlier, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi appeared on state television declaring he reserved the right to retaliate against those he described as murderers and criminals without the slightest humanity. In the ISIL video, it was made clear the victims had been targeted because of their Coptic Christian faith. France has now called on the United Nations Security Council to meet over the security situation in Libya and take new measures. Relatives of the victims seen here before news of their loved ones reached them had criticized the government of not doing enough to secure their release. Despite the government's advice, thousands of Egyptians desperate for work have traveled to Libya since the uprising at home in 2011. Many analyzers see the likelihood of military airstrikes from the West very close in Libya, arguing with the hasty evacuation process of the European and American nationals and diplomats launched in Tripoli. Nevertheless, this won't be seen until the neighboring Arab countries show consent, so as the intervention would be with a Western cover and an Arab participation.
In the same connection, Arab and international condemnations were raised over the killing of the 21 Egyptians who were slaughtered by members of the ISIS terror group in Libya. In a reaction, the Secretary General of the Arab League, Nabil al-Arabi, condemned strongly the horrific crime. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas announced 3 days mourning in solidarity with Egypt, and the Jordanian government stressed the imperious need of constantly standing in the face of terrorism and extremism whenever it comes from. Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the United Arab Emirates Foreign Minister, said the heinous crime emphasizes the necessity to support Libya's legitimate government to extend its sovereignty over the rest of Libyan territory. For his part, the White House firmly condemned in a statement the horrendous crime, and in France, President François Hollande reaffirmed his country's determination and that of its partners to fight the ISIS extremists, while the British Foreign Secretary stressed that these barbaric acts strengthen his country's resolve to combat the threat of terrorism growing in Libya and elsewhere in the region. In the thorny Yemeni file now, the United Nations Security Council on Sunday unanimously adopted a resolution demanding Shia Houthi rebels immediately relinquish control of Yemen's capital or government in an acute crisis that has pushed the Arab world's poorest country into collapse. Karim Fazakri has more.
The United Nations Security Council has unanimously adopted a resolution that demands that Houthi rebels immediately relinquish control of Yemen's government. Arab countries have been pressing for the use of military force against what they call the rebel group's illegitimate seizure of power. But the resolution approved at an emergency council meeting on Sunday evening does not act under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, which would allow it to be militarily enforced. The resolution demands that the Houthi rebels immediately and unconditionally withdraw forces from government institutions. However, Mohammed Abdul Salam, a Houthi spokesman, said ahead of the adoption of the resolution that the group would not cede power in the face of threats. The resolution also demands that the Houthis release U.S.-backed President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi and his cabinet from house arrest and engage in good faith in UN-led peace talks. The Houthis, who have controlled the capital since September last year, dissolved parliament on February 6th and replaced the president with Muhammad Ali al-Houthi, a cousin of Houthi leader Abdel Malik al-Houthi. The Houthis hail from the northern region of Sada, champion the interest of the Zaidi community, who make up a fifth of Yemen's 25 million population. The takeover has raised alarms that the world's most active branch of Al-Qaeda, based in Yemen, would use the chaos to its advantage. Sunday's resolution called on UN member states to refrain from external interference, which seeks to foment conflict and instability. Yemeni officials say Saudi Arabia will send in arms and funds to tribesmen in Yemen's Marib province to bolster them against the Houthi rebels. Saudi Arabia, which shares its southern border with Yemen, has not commented on the claims it is arming or funding tribesmen there to fight the Shia rebels.
In the latest on the Iraq situation, the Iraqi government-backed Shia militias are involved in possibly war crimes in the country's Sunni areas, New York-based Human Rights Watch said on Sunday. The Human Rights Watchdog said it had obtained evidence showing that 73 people were killed in the Barwana area in Muqdadiya, a predominantly Sunni region in Diyala province, by SWAT teams and Shia militias that are largely abetted by the Baghdad government. It cited local residents speaking to Human Rights Watch about harassment and abuse by Shia militiamen after the forces recaptured the area from the Sunni extremist ISIS group. At least 3,000 people who fled from Muqdadiya in June last year have been prevented from returning home, Human Rights Watch noted. And finally, to wrap it up, a word about sports. The Algerian First League football squad of Assoushlef secured on Sunday an important victory by 2-0 over the representative of Sierra Leone, Convoy Eagles Club, as part of the CAF Confederations Cup qualifying tournament in the Bouzmarek Stadium in Chlef in western Algeria. The meritorious result will help the Schlefian lineup the play upcoming second group fixture. More details in this report.
ASO Chlef clinched an important win in the first round of CAF Confederations Cup against Cambo Eagles Football Club of Sierra Leone. The match marked the return of Cambo Eagles to Continental Clubs competition after they suffered a humiliating 10-0 defeat over 2 legs at the hands of Ivory Coast African Sport National in the defunct African Cup winners over 3 decades ago. The Schlefians cleared the comfortable win with 2-0 and missed so many decisive attempts. The first goal came in the 22nd minute by the Ivorian Kwaku Patrick Irene after receiving a pass from his teammate Nordin Daham. Few seconds before the end of the first half, ASO Chlef Samir Zawi was sent off after kicking one of the Eagles players. The second half saw a humble performance from both sides, and the Schlefians had to wait until the 84th minute to clear a second goal by Saad Tadjar. The return leg will also be played in Algeria by a decision from the African Confederation because of the Ebola epidemic spread in Sierra Leone.
The end of our English news edition, brought to you live from Zain News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning our way. Goodbye.